Let's talk about some key indicators. I know there are probably moments in your life where you decided, hey, I need to start working on my strength and my balance, and maybe you weren't thinking about your independence or that far down the road. Maybe you were. A lot of people, though, that I come into contact with and I work with, unfortunately, they have fallen already. And in most of those cases, they have injured themselves. And when that happens, it's really hard to get back some of the movement and mobility that were lost, unfortunately, to some of the injuries, like a broken hip. Maybe you break your femur, and the therapy and the rehab and all that stuff is great. But what we want to do, what I want you guys to do, is exactly what you're doing. Address it before it happens. It's the best way to attack your independence and the quality, right, in your longevity in your life. Key indicators, there's always little key indicators, right? Even your car will give you an indicator when something's wrong, right? When that check engine light comes on, that's telling you, hey, something's not right here. And the same goes for our balance. There are little check engine lights that come on that if you know what to look for, you can identify that. Now, you guys are here, and that's great, but we all have loved ones that we want to help them stay mobile and independent. And of course, they always want our unsolicited advice, right? Let's face it. So, key indicators. I've got about 6 solid key indicators here, all right? We're going to run through these. I'm going to tell you all 6, and then we'll talk about them really quick. Lack of leg strength, neurological disorders, depression, big deal in our senior community, lack of movement and activity, unfamiliar surroundings, and single leg balance, right? So let's talk about lack of leg strength. When we talk about lack of leg strength, how do you identify when someone's legs are weak? Well, it's pretty easy. Do they have trouble getting out of a chair, right? Are they readjusting, and then when they get up, maybe they get up, but they get up really slowly? Outside of an injury or back pain or a surgery, maybe there's some hardware in the back that's preventing them from getting up. Outside of that, look for people having trouble, or if you're having trouble getting up out of a chair, right? Maybe going upstairs. Going downstairs can be even more difficult than going up because you have all that momentum. You have to slow down as you descend the stairs. Also, with a lack of leg strength, maybe you'll notice people not moving as much, right? Oftentimes when I go to homes, instead of people getting up and coming to the door, they'll sit in the chair and have their spouse or their caregiver answer the door, and I will come in to greet them. So look for a decrease in mobility and activity. And that's really a downward spiral because when we're moving less, right, what's happening is that less circulation, less opportunity gravity has to help us with our incontinence issues as far as polypharmacy, right? And what I'm talking about, let me unpack that really quick. What I'm talking about, as we get older, we tend to take more medications, and that can constipate us. As we walk around, gravity has a chance to pull things down out of our intestines, right? It also helps blood circulate, and that acts as lubrication, right? And we'll leave that there, and we'll move on, all right? So, and then too, lack of leg strength. If you notice someone maybe not showering as often, right? Maybe you'll notice they're not cleaning or their hygiene has gone down a bit. And I know it's uncomfortable, but these are the indicators, and we need to know the indicators, all right? Now, second, neurological diseases. Now, this is an obvious one, right? Parkinson's, dementia, you've got Alzheimer's, and what happens to the brain that impacts the brain, how we can mitigate the impacts. You can't stop it, but you can slow the heck out of it. You can slow it down, and that's exercise. That's what we're doing here. All right, and that's a pretty obvious indicator, right? Most times people get a diagnosis. Okay? And so one of the great tests for Alzheimer's dementia is you have someone draw a clock and you just tell them, hey, draw me a clock at 2 o'clock. And if they struggle to do that, that's a pretty good indicator. Also, another one that we do here in class from time to time, right, is called the Romberg test, where you stand with your feet side by side really close and you close your eyes and you want to hold that position for about 10 to 15 seconds. If you can't, that's an indicator, right? Maybe there's something going on in the brain. It's not an end all, it's not a be all end all, but it is a great test to kind of discover whether something's going on or not, all right? Depression. Depression shrinks the brain. Depression also withdraws, right? Folks withdraw from society, and we know what socialization does for our brain. Do you know what combats depression? Exercise. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, I have a child that really struggled in middle school. I mean, really struggled with anxiety. And long story short, he was kind of forced into activity, had a head injury, couldn't do anything, couldn't go to school. And my wife and I forced him to go work out. And it lit a fire. He is extremely passionate about it, and it changed his life. I have never seen anything like that happen. Now, of course, he's young and he's growing and things are changing, but the impacts that exercise has on depression, actually there's research that tells us it's as powerful or more powerful than Zoloft, than what you can get from a prescription, right? And there's research that's been done on that. Lack of movement and activity. We talked about this in our common myths, right? Some people believe that if they move less, their chance of falling is less. And that's a big one. We talked about the showers earlier, all right? That's a really good indicator there, and so is the lack of movement. Maybe you notice people slowing down, and that's fine. We all slow down as we age. What we don't want to do is stop, because things in motion, we've all heard it, stay in motion. And that is true. That is absolutely true. All right. Second to last one is unfamiliar surroundings. You guys remember last year we went through our little Christmas deal, and we'll start that next week. We'll go through our little Christmas lectures. Biggest thing here, unfamiliar surroundings, is vacation. I have a client that told me a story about a friend of hers. This happened 2 weeks ago. Mount Vesuvius. Hiking the trail, missteps, falls, hits her head. Bloodied, really hurt. They get her down the mountain. She was able to get down the mountain. She was fine, a little dazed. They didn't get her to an emergency room. Closest hospital was about 30 minutes to an hour away. She was conscious. She was fine. She knew her name. They sent her off to her hotel room. She died. Found her in the morning dead. Head injuries, right? Unfamiliar surroundings. Let me encourage you, if you fall and you hit your head, go get checked out. Even if you think it's minor, go get it checked out. There's no harm in that, right? So, unfamiliar surroundings, you want to pay attention. Like if you're going to stay with family or friends over the holidays, make sure you know your path to and from the restroom at night. Light the way, clear it out at night. Right? Take your time when you get up at night if you have to go to the bathroom. Single leg balance, right? Oh, and watch for the little animals. A lot of times when we go places, they'll have animals, so watch for those little animals, those little cute little puppies and kitty cats and everything else. Last thing, single leg balance. All right? Your single leg balance. We've talked about this, the research done by the British Journal of Sports Medicine. If you cannot stand on one foot for 10 seconds, your life expectancy is about 10 years or less. That's another indicator, okay? So we've got some indicators there. Now, you can certainly work on our single leg balance. It's not a death sentence. We can certainly work on it and improve it, right? So it's not all hope is lost, but again, that goes to our leg strength as well. And you can see a lot of these indicators are tied into one another, all right? Okay, so that's your indicators. You guys are doing the right thing. Maybe you have a loved one, someone you really care about. You identify some of these things. You're armed with the knowledge to help them. You got it. Let's get going. First thing we're going to do, we're going